What's up guys, my name is Todd, I'm a trader and investor from the UK and no, funny enough, before we start, I don't want to sell you signals, I don't want to sell you a course, and I definitely don't want to sell you an ebook, so let's just get that out of the way. I've had a lot of people request for me to start up a YouTube channel in general because I always talk about trading and finance, and this is a platform where I can put it out free to everyone and they can actually start to understand and implement some strategies that I personally use and wealthy people use to better their lives in general. Finance is my passion, I love it, I live and breathe it, to be honest with you. I love the process, I think that's the biggest thing. I believe when I say that I love the process, I believe that you fall in love with the process and the money will follow you at a later date. It's about the grind rather than anything else. I believe there are two sorts of mindsets, and one's fixed and one's a growth mindset, and as you'll sort of see by this video, they are very, very different. Unfortunately, because of the educational systems, especially in the Western world, the fixed mindset is all you'll really see. Your parents would have been taught, everyone around you is taught that, so for you to be different, you have to sort of switch it and do things that they're not doing, or pretty much do everything that they're not doing. I think that's the only way that you can, should we say, bleed a success from, well, to be honest, being different. I think that's it. In our educational system, especially where I live in the Western world, we are taught to have a fixed mindset, a very closed view, very narrow path, and it's so wrong. We will say things like, yeah, I can't do this, and you can. A growth mindset would view it as, how can I do this? That's it. A fixed mindset will view failure as permanent, unchangeable, can't do it. That's the basic strategy of it all. A growth mindset would view it as, they'll probably flip the coin over and be like, okay, that went wrong, how can I do better next time? What went wrong? I can assure you this is very true. I've failed things more times than you can probably imagine, to be honest with you. But I think I've taken vital experience on board each time I failed something, and that's where you have to view things. You have to view things in a correct mindset. Otherwise, in a failure scenario, you will just go shutdown mode and nothing else will happen. You won't venture forward. That'll be it. Barrier, done. I think this can go hand in hand with feedback, personally. It's a very different way of viewing feedback, especially from a critical point of view. Let's say from a fixed mindset perspective, you will view critical feedback as a personal attack, whereas growth will be like, okay, let's say if someone's wealthier than me, you can view that as, okay, they're trying to help me. I think you have to listen to people that are doing better than you, otherwise you won't be able to implement some of their strategies that they've used personally to build wealth or whatever you want to achieve. I think in terms of tasks, I think that's one of the biggest things and problems that you will have from a fixed mindset, especially coming out of the educational system. You'll always choose the easiest task to do, and nothing, I can assure you that nothing good is easy. You will not prosper doing anything easy, and that is what you're taught. And sometimes you don't even get the easy tasks done, and that's probably the worst thing about it. Anything worthwhile, you have to work hard for. It has to be difficult. Nothing good happens in your comfort zone. Nothing. As soon as you get out of that comfort zone, that's when your life becomes better. Obstacles, I think this is one thing that I've struggled with the most in general. As I said, when I was younger, I failed so many tasks, and it was usually because of the first barrier. You come to the obstacle, hit it, and you're like, okay, I'm stuck here, and you'll hit it again probably, and you'll stop. That is probably the hardest thing you'll do, is you will stop, and that's where most people fail, most businesses fail, either because you've hit the first barrier, or your parents are telling you to do something, or people who, it's a conflict of interest, especially with parents, I believe. Sometimes you have to do things that they don't want you to do. A growth mindset would view that as, okay, there's the obstacle, okay, I can get over it this way, I can get around it, or however, but they will find a way of getting over that obstacle. And again, yeah, you in business, you will come across many barriers, but you just have to you don't have to reinvent the wheel, but you can just keep having to go forward, otherwise you won't go forward. It's simple when you think about it, I know, but people don't seem to understand it, and you definitely won't be taught this in school. Yeah, you'll be taught in school that your failure is it. You're a failure if you fail a test or exam. It's just mental. I think another problem is I think to do with accomplishments. Like, for example, I don't know, I'm wearing this £2 t-shirt. If I put that on Instagram, people from like a mutual perspective will look at that and think, okay, he's wearing a £2 t-shirt, he's a loser. Whereas, okay, let's say if I buy, I don't know, like a Gucci t-shirt or any of that rubbish for like £350, people will view that on social media and think, oh my god, he's winning, he's got a Gucci t-shirt or something like that, he must be earning lots of money. But most of the time, they aren't. I can assure you, they really aren't. The person I look at it, how I would look at it is the person who's wearing the £2 t-shirt is winning because they've saved £348 and they've moved it somewhere else. That's the part that you will not see, and that is why there's a problem. A growth mindset will always be working towards a goal, continually improving themselves, and that's why it's so different. Ultimately, what I'm trying to say is your mindset influences everything that you do. I think that's what people struggle with the most. It is how you grow, how it differentiates between the crowd, what I'd like to call the hamsters, because they're put on the wheel. You come out of the educational system, you're put on the wheel, and it's very difficult to get out of that zone. That's how you need to be exactly the opposite, otherwise you'll be caught up, and that'll be it. I'd say the next one has got to be money related. You have to respect money, and you've got to have a different thought process behind it. That's the fundamental problem with most people. I'd say the biggest problem is people don't actually respect money. They don't understand the actual function of money. Overall, people have a bad emotional attachment with money. Most of all, they think about what they can actually buy with it rather than actually what you can do and invest with it, or however that would work. We are taught in schools, especially, that money is the root of all evil. It's not. Greed is. Money doesn't make you happy and all these things. I believe it helps to make you happy. I don't think that money actually makes you happy. Money obviously has a function, so you got to think about, if it didn't exist, it makes society work. That's the fundamentals behind money. We're led to believe that wanting money is a bad thing, and people misunderstand this between wanting to do better for yourself and your family and that type of greed, or the greed of harming other people to obtain wealth. I believe there's a positive and negative greed, and make sure you're on the right side of that. It's not necessary to have a negative greed. It's just not. If you understand the function of money, you wouldn't need to have a negative greed in the first place. You could go the right way about it and have a positive greed without affecting other people's money in the process. There is a common term that the more money you have, the more problems you have. This isn't the case. It's only a problem if you can't manage your money properly, and if you understand and respect money, you won't have this issue. I believe you have to be very aware and understand money. If you can't manage £10, how are you meant to manage like £100, £1,000, £10,000, and so on? If you can't manage the small amounts, there's no way you're going to be able to obtain larger wealth, because if you spend £10, the likelihood is you are going to spend the £100, £1,000 and so on. That's unfortunate, that's just how things are. You have to think of things differently, or you will lose a lot of money very, very quickly. This works in trading, investing, anything, any form of sector. Unfortunately, the first sort of problem with money is, if I give someone £20 or however it would work, the first thing they can do is, what can I buy with that money? The money doesn't actually think anything of you. It is literally just a piece of paper. It is an object, and everyone seems to have an emotional attachment with it. The larger the money is, The money doesn't think anything of you. It's used to transact for goods and services and satisfy wants and needs. The problems that people have with money is the fact that it doesn't actually exist with the money. If they have a problem with money, the most likely case is that they have a problem with themselves. That's why they can't manage their money. But they use that as a blame culture to blame on the money when it's their problem. I think the next one to do with money has got to be assets and liabilities. You have to understand this fundamentally. There's debt that you can take on within a company and debt that you can take on personally. When you take on debt within a company, you are the director of the company, and you borrow money and the business has the exposure, not you personally. So this would be a different form of liability than if you took the debt on for yourself, because you will be signing up to the scheduled payments each month, and what will happen is if you miss the payments or something happens, you'll become insolvent. This is a personal thing right now. I don't think, maybe not just personal, but I think one of the biggest liabilities you can possibly have is a mortgage that you'll probably ever take on during your lifetime. It's personally an asset for the mortgage broker or a bank. That's just an asset for them. The best scenario is always to buy an asset for cash if you can, because what you are going to do otherwise is try and finance a lifestyle that you can't afford for cash right now. I think what people don't understand about mortgages is you'll probably pay 2.5, 3 times or more in some cases, depending on the amount and the interest over the 25, 40 year period. And in some cases now there's even interest-free mortgages, which are even worse in my opinion. And even if you just waited for a little while, let's say you rented or something like this, or however you would do things, and you waited down the line, you could buy that asset for cash and wouldn't have to worry about the scheduled payments that you'd be signing up to. You'd have total freedom in that entire time that you'll be doing things. And to me, freedom, especially in this world, today's day and age, is everything. If you don't have freedom, you have nothing. And by signing up to these liabilities, you are going to struggle in the long term. No rich people, or wealthy people should we say, have liabilities. They just don't. They have assets. They have an asset base. I think people in the Western world, because of the traditional educational system, they actually don't think there is any other options, because in school, all that happens is you are drilled into go get a job, go get a wife, kids, whatever it is, sign up to liabilities each month. And it's quite sad, really, because that's what everyone believes. And for example, me or other people that do things differently, you are wrong in their eyes, when most likely cases they're wrong for doing that, like how should we say, the banks want you to do things. So you are taught differently. And I think you have to, should we say, unlearn everything you've learnt to actually become successful. Otherwise you're going to go down what I would call the hamster wheel, and it's a trap. The hamster wheel is just a trap. They will try and get you to sign up to scheduled payments that you have to meet. And when you have scheduled payments, in most cases, let's talk about normal people here, they have to have a job. They want that, should we say, stability in their life to make sure they don't want to be taking on risks. And nothing good happens in a comfort zone, in my personal opinion. I think that's why most normal people struggle. And the reason being is they're not actually able to take on the risk because they have to have these payments each month. So they have to make these payments. That is the fundamental problem. I believe renting to be an asset well over a mortgage, because you have total freedom during that time. You can leave at any given moment. I mean, people would argue here that should we say it's a scheduled payment thing. But it's not. You can, should we say, pay and leave. The property's not going to be taken away from you and you have any sort of debt. You can just drop everything and go. Freedom is the biggest asset you can probably have. And by having freedom, you'll always have more choices than, should we say, people that are signing up to scheduled payments. That's unfortunately, that is the way of the world these days. What you see on the media and everywhere else is, in most cases, a lie. So you'll be trying fed rubbish, let's say, and they will shaft you long term. People don't understand. They mix up liabilities and debt very easily. People think that a mortgage secured on a property is an asset, when in fact it's probably the largest liability that you can probably have. All it does is it puts you on that hamster wheel that I've mentioned before, and now you are signed up to that scheduled payments. The owner of that debt is receiving these payments. It's a trap. The only way you can get out of the debt is by paying it off. Is that what you want? There's no freedom to do what you like whatsoever. I think these are the mistakes people make, what we are taught in our traditional educational system, that these are okay. Mortgages, credit cards, car finance, overdraft facilities, they are all traps. People these days don't think that freedom is an asset, and they trade their time for money. What will happen is out of school, they'll get a job, they'll take a paycheck with their salary and they'll sign up to loads of liabilities, and the money left at the end they'll just spend. And if you think about it long term, all they're actually doing is trading all of their time for nothing. I personally think it's just mental. And the reason how you can tell this is, go to the ATM with your bank card, put it in the machine, and are you happy with the number that looks back at you? So all in all, you just have to be smart about things, seek out alternative education, and that doesn't mean sign up to loads of courses and liabilities itself. Try and build your asset base, and for going into early 2020, as it's only early February now, you can make your life and lifestyle a lot better by just following simple rules that wealthy people do. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, you just have to follow certain things. This was just a small little video that I was trying to explain on how to better your life going into, well, very early 2020. It's only February. There's so many things that you can better your life just by following simple steps. And don't forget to smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm, and I'll see you in the next video.